Based on true events, this 2021 mockumentary horror film became a worldwide sensation. It was made by two top horror directors, one from South Korea and one from Thailand. The movie was so terrifying that some theaters kept the lights on during screenings. Some even handed out earplugs to viewers who might not be able to handle it. And that movie is The Medium. It's shot like a documentary, making the entire story feel disturbingly real. The second half barely gives you a chance to breathe. So if you scare easily, you probably shouldn't watch this one alone. The story takes place in northeastern Thailand. The locals believe everything has a spirit. Good spirits protect the villagers, while evil ones bring sickness and disaster. In 2018, a South Korean documentary crew traveled to the area. After meeting several mediums, they decided to follow a woman named Nim. Nim serves as the medium for a deity named Bayan. In Nim's family, Bayan only chooses women to speak for her. But the person originally chosen wasn't Nim. It was her older sister, Noi. Noi wanted nothing to do with becoming a medium. She even converted to Christianity in an attempt to escape her fate, so Nim eventually accepted Bayan in her place. One day, the crew follows Nim to her brother-in-law's funeral. There seems to be something deeply wrong with his family because almost every man in it has met a terrible end. His grandfather was beaten to death with rocks. His father took his own life with pills after the family's factory went out of business. Nim's brother-in-law died from cancer, while his oldest son, Mike, supposedly died in a car accident. Now, only Noi and her daughter Mink are left in the house. That evening, the funeral guests slowly begin to leave. While the relatives are sitting around talking, Mink suddenly loses control and starts arguing with her family. Everyone assumes she's just struggling with her father's death, so they don't think much of it. But late that night, Nim catches Mink staring at a blind old woman without moving a muscle. No matter how many times Nim calls her name, Mink doesn't respond. The next morning, police carry a body away from nearby. The dead woman is the same blind woman Mink was staring at the night before. The cameraman also catches Mink twitching outside a bedroom, looking like she's completely lost consciousness. The crew believes these could be signs that a deity is about to possess her. Nim has no children of her own, so Mink could become Bayan's next medium. Hoping to document the process, the crew starts following Mink. She normally works at a job placement office. Mink is college-educated and doesn't believe in gods or spirits. In fact, she thinks all the mediums in town are just putting on an act. But over the next few days, Mink suddenly seems like a completely different person. She often talks to empty spaces and sometimes wears shoes meant for a little girl. Her body grows weaker by the day, almost as if she's seriously ill. Her personality also becomes more unstable. Sometimes she acts like a loud, unruly child. Other times, she behaves like a drunk old woman. The crew even hears her talk about things she's never experienced, even though she appears to be fully awake. Nim thinks Mink may be suffering from what the locals call spirit sickness, the illness that comes before Bayan takes over a new medium. But neither Noi nor Mink is willing to accept that possibility. Before long, Mink's condition gets even worse. She suffers from constant headaches and stomach pain. She also starts meeting different men, almost as if she can't control herself. Once she comes back to her senses, she remembers nothing about what happened. When she's alone, she even claws at her gums with her fingernails. Her mouth fills with blood, but she doesn't seem to feel any pain. After being tormented for so long, Mink finally reaches her breaking point. She locks herself in the bathroom and cuts her wrists. Luckily, her family finds her in time and saves her. Only then does Noi change her mind. If becoming a medium will keep her daughter alive, then she's willing to accept it. Noi asks Nim to perform a ritual that will allow Bayan to enter Mink and make her the next medium. But Nim flat out refuses. She's already realized that whatever is inside Mink isn't Bayan. To find out what's really happening, Nim searches Mink's room. There, she finds several intimate photos of Mink and her brother, Mike. It turns out the two siblings once had a relationship they never should have had. Mike didn't die in a car accident either. He took his own life by hanging himself. The family lied about the accident to hide the truth. Nim begins to suspect that Mike's spirit may have latched onto Mink, but Noi refuses to listen. Since her sister won't help, she secretly finds another medium and has her perform the ritual on Mink. Nim arrives and immediately breaks it up. Until they know exactly what's inside Mink, opening her body to possession could draw in even more evil spirits. But it's already too late. Mink suddenly jumps up and lunges at the cameraman. She runs out of the room and disappears into the nearby alleys. After the failed ritual, Nim tells Noi to let go of the past and sincerely apologize to Bayan. Noi does what she's told, but no matter how much they pray, Mink doesn't return. The villagers search the entire town and find no sign of her. For the next month, Noi looks for her daughter almost every day. But Mink seems to have completely vanished. Neither the police nor the villagers can find a single clue. Desperate to find her niece, Nim has no choice but to keep asking Bayan for help. She takes objects Mink touched to the tree where Mike hanged himself. There, she lights candles and tests each object with an egg. According to local belief, if an object carries evil energy, something unusual will appear when the egg is cracked open. Nim repeats the test over and over for nearly a month, but Bayan never responds. Then, during her final attempt, Nim cracks an egg open and finds that the inside has turned black. The object that caused the reaction came from a textile factory. Nim finally realizes that Mike may not be the spirit haunting Mink at all. Following the new clue, she travels to an abandoned textile factory. On the 5th floor, she finally finds Mink after an entire month. Mink is covered in injuries and barely has any strength left. Nim rushes her to the hospital, but aside from malnutrition and a few scrapes, the doctors find nothing medically wrong with her. Nim believes Bayan must have protected her niece, but when she returns to pray at Bayan's statue, she discovers that someone has cut off its head. Back at home, Mink seems like someone else entirely. She deliberately provokes Nim and reveals a secret that has been buried for years. Noi was the one Bayan truly chose. To push the burden of becoming a medium onto her sister, Noi once hid a charm inside Nim's shoes. She also made Nim wear Noi's clothes. For the first time in her life, Nim begins to question everything she has ever believed. She tries to perform a ritual on Mink and briefly manages to subdue her, but Mink quickly loses control again. Nim finally understands that she's dealing with something far worse than an ordinary angry spirit. With Mink becoming more dangerous by the day, Nim turns to a far more experienced exorcist. He discovers that Mink isn't possessed by just one spirit. Her body has been taken over by a whole swarm of evil spirits. Mink's ancestors on her father's side once killed many innocent people. Before dying, one of their victims placed a curse on the entire family. That curse is why the men in the family have always met such terrible ends. Mink carries the curse from her father's side, while her mother once rejected Bayan. On top of that, the failed possession ritual left Mink's body wide open. She has become a vessel that any evil spirit can enter. The only way to save her is to draw all the spirits out at once and seal them away together. The exorcism requires a huge amount of preparation, so the ritual is scheduled for 7 days later. In the meantime, the crew installs cameras all over the house to keep an eye on Mink. What makes it even more disturbing is how Mink sometimes smiles straight into the cameras, as if she knows everyone is watching. Even with the crew standing guard outside her door, no one knows what she'll do next. On the surveillance footage, Mink looks less human every day. She climbs onto tables and uses them as a toilet. She chews on raw meat like an animal and even sneaks off with her uncle's baby. After only a few days, the family is too terrified to sleep, but they have no choice except to keep waiting because the ritual preparations still aren't finished. The day before the exorcism, Noi goes to Nim's house and finds her sister dead in her sleep. The doctors can't determine what killed her, and Bayan gives them no answer. But everything is already prepared, and there's no turning back now. On the day of the exorcism, Mink is locked inside a bedroom at home. The door is covered with protective charms. Her aunt and several members of the documentary crew are told to guard the room. No matter what they hear from inside, they must never open that door. Meanwhile, the exorcist takes Noi and dozens of followers to the abandoned textile factory. According to the plan, Noi will temporarily act as bait. She'll draw the evil spirits out of Mink and into her own body. The exorcist will then seal them inside a jar. The seals at the factory and the house are connected. If either one is broken, the entire ritual will fail. As the ritual begins, a strange wind suddenly tears through the factory. Back at the house, Mink starts slamming herself against the bedroom door. A few minutes later, blood begins running from Noi's eyes and nose. She then spits a mouthful of foul blood into the jar in front of her. The exorcist immediately seals the jar. Now, only one final step remains. At that exact moment, Mink suddenly goes quiet. In a weak voice, she begs the people outside to help her, claiming that she's back to normal. Her aunt refuses to open the door. Then the sound of a crying baby comes from inside the room. She rushes to the baby's crib. Her son is right there in front of her, but she somehow can't see him. Convinced that Mink has taken her baby into the bedroom, she panics. The crew tries to stop her, but the hallucination has already taken control. She knocks the cameraman down, tears off the protective charms, and opens Mink's door. The instant the seal is broken, the jar at the textile factory suddenly goes quiet. The exorcist thinks the evil spirits have been sealed away. Then he lets out a disturbing laugh and falls from the upper floor. Back at the house, Mink kills her aunt and the documentary crew. At the factory, the exorcist's followers become possessed one after another and start attacking each other. Before long, the entire building is filled with screams and running footsteps. The camera shakes wildly through the chaos. Then Noi suddenly wakes up and claims she can feel Bayan inside her. She orders the survivors to light incense, but she places the incense sticks upside down in the burner. That one action makes it clear that whatever is inside her probably isn't Bayan. A short time later, Mink arrives at the factory. Noi rushes over, pins her daughter down, and repeatedly chants an incantation. Mink actually seems to be under control. Then her expression suddenly returns to normal, and she softly calls out, "Mom!" Noi believes her daughter has finally come back, so she stops. But it's only another trap set by the evil spirits. Mink immediately fights back and eventually burns her mother alive. The cameraman hiding in the corner doesn't make it out either. Through the flames, the camera catches a small doll covered in nails. Written across it is Yasantia, the last name of Mink's father's family. That doll may be the true source of the curse hanging over the entire family. At the end of the movie, the crew releases footage from Nim's final interview before her death. Sitting in front of the camera, Nim admits that she no longer knows whether Bayan truly exists. She even wonders if Bayan was ever inside her at all. After saying those words, Nim breaks down in tears. The movie never gives us a clear answer. Maybe the most frightening thing isn't the evil spirits hiding in the dark. Maybe it's what happens when everything someone has believed in their entire life suddenly collapses, and they realize there's nothing else left to hold on to.